Welcome to another episode of An Inside Job, War on Addiction. As always, I want to thank LTV, Kyle, Jack, not Jane, Alan, Bradley, and Keith. I'm Ron, your host. I want to quote my favorite person to do with addiction, Dr. Gabor Mate. And he explains addiction as biological, chemical, physiological, medical, social, emotional, political, economical, spiritual. I don't know if I said, yeah, I did say. So that, and I also say this, but with that being said, it's not going to be cured, or however you want to think about it, in a 7-day detox. We have a saying in the 12-step program, it's a long way into the woods and a long way out. So, with that being said, my friend John here said yes to coming down. As I also always say, it takes a lot to be to spill your guts like that. So, where's my thing? Anyway, while I'm looking, So, John, how old are you?
I'm 54 years old.
54 years old. Grew up in Fitchburg.
I was born in Leominster, but I moved to Fitchburg shortly after.
You were telling me a little bitty story up at the Lakeview.
Lake Lodge.
We were talking about a full moon, and at the bar, and he did it for a lot of years. Every full moon, he said they'd come out in force, and I believe that too. So, I believe I can't find this stuff. All right, I'll have to wing it. Okay, so you grew up in Fitchburg. What was growing up like for you?
I had a pretty normal childhood. I played baseball, and I played hockey, and I played football, and I rode dirt bikes, and I had a lot of friends. Things were really good as a child. Yeah,
good. Yeah, you usually don't hear that there's been a lot of drama and, if that's a word, in people's lives, some horrible stuff. So, how did it begin?
We started, as a group of kids, we all kind of hung out together, and we all, we started smoking cigarettes, and we started smoking a little bit of weed. And we
How old?
We were probably, 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
I would guess. And we got pretty comfortable smoking a cigarette, smoking a weed, and we wanted something different. So we would try alcohol on occasions, and none of us loved it, but we just kept doing it. As a group, we always needed something to revert to.
Yeah.
And it was some form of drugs or alcohol, and that's kind of where we started. We hung out at the cemetery, and on occasion we get one of the older kids to buy us a bottle of, back then it was Southern Comfort. It was about $3. It was about $3 for a pint or something back then, and we'd pass that around, and we'd get all goofy and
80
silly.
proof.
Well, yeah, whatever it was back then.
It was good.
That's what we did. That's where we started. And
yeah.
Who the Christ would ever guess where it'd take you,
You think it was more the kids you were hanging out with than...
Yeah. Yeah, we were, back then parents went to work. So, we had all day to think,
right.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
We were always thinking of what kind of trouble can we get in today? What kind of activity could make us smile today?
Yeah.
And the booze would kind of slow things down. It kind of gave us an excuse to do more. We'd get one little pint, and before too long, 6 or 8 months, we'd get 2 of them, and we'd all, we'd share those, and we had more kids coming into the little circle,
really?
and yeah. The kids from Upper Salem Street would come down. We hung out at the cemetery at St. Bernard's. That's where we hung out.
So this Seaside, Fitchburg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you getting in trouble?
Occasional. We'd have the cops come through occasionally, and we'd all just scatter. And, that
Yeah.
became a joke, too. That's what we did for
Yeah.
excitement. Yeah, you'd make a lot of noise so that people would call the police, and they would come down, and we'd all run and hide up trees or hide behind gravestones or do whatever. That's what we did for excitement, yeah.
Yeah. And that went on that way for how long?
Oh, I would say we probably did that for a few years, 2 or 3 years. It probably stopped or slowed down when, most of us were going to high school. Some were going to St. Bernard's High, some were going to Monty Tech, some were going to Fitchburg High.
Yeah.
So we kind of split up a little bit.
Yeah.
And we found the new kids at school to hang out with, and
Yeah.
there we kind of picked up where we left off.
Yeah. Yeah. When did you think that you had a problem?
I pretty much, when I started drinking, I drank pretty consistently, I would say, in my teens. I went to Quinsigamond College, and I used to struggle on Fridays. I had calculus on Friday, but every Friday there was a car that used to pull up into the upper parking lot in Quinzig, and if you had a mug with you, you could drink all the beer you could for $1. So instead of going to class on Friday, that became my new venture. I'd go park up on the hill, and I'd get to that car and with my mug of beer, and that's what I would do Friday afternoon. And it became a ritual pretty much every Friday. That was probably, I was 18 or so, I would guess.
So this was after school, after the class?
After high school. I just skipped school on Friday. I wouldn't go to college on Friday. I'd just skip all my classes and straight up to the parking lot for $1.
Did you pass calculus?
No, I didn't. I failed. It was like the Omen. It was my worst class, and before too long, I said, maybe this college thing ain't for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The booze, I guess the booze was kind of taken over at that point.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
Yeah. And we were talking before this. You worked in the Lakeview as a kid, but then you began bartending there. Yeah. How that things take off then?
It was interesting. I kind of I knew the type of people that I served. That was the kind of person I wanted to be as a drinker.
Really?
And I found those people, and honest, that's where I wanted to drink like them. I wanted to act like them, and that's what I.
So what kind of people were they?
Those were the drunk people, the people that were very social, very friendly. They knew where all the other stuff was. I used to call them the dry products. They knew where to get the dry products and who had them and who had the good ones and who had the bad ones. And it was a lifestyle, to say the least.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It really, really was fun.
And that was quite a few years.
Yeah, I did it. We did that for, Jesus, I would say for 10 years. From my late teens right into my 20s, I would say I did that.
So when was the first thought that you thought you had a problem with this thing?
I honestly, even when I got here later in my 40s, I was willing to admit I probably had a problem with drinking, but I was not going to concede to that I was an alcoholic. My tendencies were problematic, but no alcohol tendency. So I was in denial right from the get-go. I look back now with what I've learned in AA. I look back now, and I was a problem drinker right from the get-go, really. And
oh, you think so?
Yeah. I really, really was. Yeah. I didn't drink for pleasure. I drank to get along with people, but I drank for the effect right from the get-go. I really,
Plus,
really
it was
did.
free.
Yeah, there was a lot of free drinking. I knew a lot of people, and I got a lot of free drinks.
Right, made a lot of friends.
You made a lot of friends. Did a lot of crazy things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long you been sober now?
8 years.
8 years. And at what age?
I got sober at 45.
45.
Yeah.
What brought that about?
I was going through a divorce. My drinking was, I couldn't afford to drink and drug the way that I like to drink and drug, and I knew there was something wrong with the way that I was doing it. And as a result of it, I ended up, I just had a mental breakdown. I just couldn't handle reality, and I ended up in a mental hospital. And they made it kind of aware to me, you might have a problem with drinking. And once again, I might have a problem, but I'm not the alcoholic. And they suggested go to AA, get to find out about your disease, learn about your disease, do something about your disease. And that's where I was, I was like slapped in the side of the head, really. I had a lot of things going on in my life. I had the divorce coming up. I was in the process of not being able to save my properties. All the things I worked so hard to create, they were all going to be gone. They really were. And I had an opportunity to stop them from taking it. I chose the bottle. I really did. That's what I chose. And I'm sure I would do it again.
Were you still at the house when this all came down?
We had lost the first house. I was living at the second house, and I was basically, when I got confronted with this problem, the problem drinking, I had to move in with my father because I couldn't handle the stress of the divorce, and my children were, they weren't very friendly with me. So my father was about the only one that really could put up with my crap.
Yeah, yeah. So, and was that your marriage?
That was my first and only marriage.
Yeah.
It was a long one, 20 something years.
20 something years. Yeah. How many kids?
Two wonderful children, yeah.
You doing good with them now?
Yeah, we get along good. My son and I get along good. My daughter and I get along good.
Oh, good, good.
My wife and I, not so good, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah. So you're having a divorce. You signed yourself in? Up?
Oh,
where was it?
I ended up in Pembroke, Mass. How that ended up coming about was I was on a bender. I became a binge drinker at the end because I couldn't get the satisfaction I need from drinking one night. So it would come in multiple nights. So I drank and drugged, and I stayed up for weekends at times. And this on Sunday I went out on a Friday, and I partied Saturday, and on Sunday I kind of knew something was up. I just wasn't getting the effect that I used to get, and so I was kind of thinking, what am I going to do now? Honestly, what am I going to do? And sometime Monday, late Sunday night, early Monday morning, I called my brother and I says, I need help. There's something wrong with me. I need some help. And he come and picked me up, and he had my father with him, and they ended up bringing me to a hospital, and they shipped me off to that Pembroke, and that's where I got my wake-up call. I never had any consequences for my drinking. I had a drunk driver, but it was like no big deal. I lost my license for 30 days. But this time I was faced with, the alcohol wasn't working for me, and it was the only release I ever had. I never had any other release. I believed in God as a child, but I kind of pushed him on the back burner. I let him be.
What were the dry products that you enjoyed?
Oh, I enjoyed cocaine. I love cocaine. Yeah. And then I found them perks later in life, and those replaced cocaine with ease.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, two different ways to go, though, right?
I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I didn't have to go hide in a room and snort anything. I could just... I got the same effect from perks as I did cocaine. Same exact effect, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Picked me right up.
Huh.
They say it's a chemical imbalance. I don't know if that's true, but...
Yeah. How long with the perks?
Oh, I did those things for a good 10 years at the end. My last 10 years of drinking and using was more based around perks than any other drug.
Was perks?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think that really took you down?
Yeah. That put me...
financially, right?
Yeah, between the use and abuse of them and the financial part, yeah, definitely. It made me aware that something was wrong.
Yeah. So it got ugly.
Yeah.
Ugly, ugly, ugly. Just for me to look, and I do. I look back sometimes because there was a million things happening on the way down, and a thought will come to me, and I go, oh. No, you did that. Just humiliating things and settling for less. I ended up on, right before the end of my drinking, working on a pig farm, Nothing against pig farming, but I always say, it would get your attention on a hot August day, hungover, and shoveling pig shit. No, it wasn't good. I didn't mind. We could drink all we wanted. I was more of a weed smoker. In the beginning, when I got back from Vietnam, I had a good speed habit going back all the way back then, 60, 68, for 6 years. But it just had to stop because I was going to kill myself. Yeah. Do you think back on some of the stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I catch myself drifting.
What do you do with it?
I mean, with the thoughts, I know I can't use in safety anymore. I'm way beyond the thought process of even picking up and thinking it would be the same or it would be different this time. I just know there's no rationalization in my mind to reuse. I used the fun out of it. I really, really did. There's nothing left for me.
Yeah.
There's not.
What do you do with the stuff? For me, it was leaving my kids and, all that kind of shit. How about you? Now, do you?
I've got a granddaughter now, so I mean, she kind of refocuses my life with life.
Yeah.
She's like a little blossom. She just puts an instant smile on my face, and I'm sure I caused my children pain, and I hate to do it again. I really, really would.
Right.
And I know I had an opportunity to change and to stop that, but the booze won every time. The drugs and the booze is going to beat me every time.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to torture them anymore. I really, really don't.
Right.
I still have thoughts. I don't think I'm cured. I don't know if I'll ever be cured or if, I still have thoughts. My thought today is to not pick up that drink. I talk about it like openly to you and to other people. And, I suppose if I didn't talk about it, I'd be thinking about doing it.
I know you're a very generous man. We attend the same midday meeting. And John gets the donuts, and he's always, all kinds of stuff beyond what you say in there, how you help people, what you went through. I mean, that's, you're not supposed to promote AA. I understand that. But for you, for you to be telling this on TV, it will help so many other people, because it's as for the people in coming around, helping them, being inspiration. And on this show, what I try to get at, where it took you and where are you now, basically those two, both questions, to see what you went through, and then, I didn't know you back then, but I know you now, and I've seen you coming around for a while. 8 years. How long did it take you? How long did you stay up in Pembroke?
I think I was there. I used to say I was there 20 days, but I found some paperwork recently. I was only there for 7 days. So either I don't know if I was there for 7 days or 10 days, but around a week.
Yeah.
I went there because I was suicidal and homicidal, and I was a threat to society. And so after a few days, I got some clearing. And
So you went up there for mental more than alcohol and booze.
Yeah.
And of course, right up to that, you were still drinking and how many days? It took 3 days for me after my friend Danny, who's been on the show, said, he was sober a year before me. I didn't see any way out, but I got in touch with Danny, and he said, let's go. Anyway, it took 3 days of huge drama and, the whole thing. How many days did it take for you to prepare?
To come to AA?
No, to go up to Pembroke.
Oh, I didn't prepare at all. They got me at my best. I was on after the bender. I was down on my luck, and they finally had me. Would you try something? And I was
Was
willing
it a
to-
locked wood?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
That helps.
Even by the time, so I end up at Burbank. Burbank didn't have a facility for me, so they sent me to Leominster, and I had a guard right out the door. And every time I looked out, there he was. I wanted to run and get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
He was standing right there, and he'd just give me the head shake.
Yeah.
I just had to sit there and
Yeah.
yeah. So by the time they found me a bed, I think I stayed in Leominster for 2 or 3 days.
Leominster.
Leominster Hospital,
Upstairs?
downstairs, and they had me in a room, a dark room, and with a door on it, and there was a little bed in the corner, and there was a guard outside, and so that's what I did for the couple 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And then when they said we've got a bed for you, I'm like, okay, let's go. And when I got, by the time I got to Pembroke, I was beat up. I was beat up. There was no more running. It was time to do something about it.
How long before you said or thought that this may work?
A while.
Did you drink after you came out of Pembroke?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
did.
did.
I did. I managed to stay, when I left Pembroke, I managed to stay sober. I got into an aftercare program at AdCare. I used to call it the Daddy Daycare. So I went to Daddy Daycare for, I think I went for 3 months. I managed to stay sober 3 months. Like 3 months in a couple of days. And
Outpatient?
Outpatient.
Outpatient.
Intense outpatient, they called it. And, I said, a guy like me who could stop drinking for 90 days, he can't possibly have a problem. So I went out and celebrated. And, those same feelings of guilt and shame. And the only thing that would take it away at that time was alcohol and drugs. Nothing else would take that guilt, shame, and remorse. Nothing would take that away. Only the booze and the drugs would. And so I managed the same night I used. I was like, I can't believe I did this one more time. And my father was alive at this time. My father had been sober for 30 years.
Oh.
So I got home late at night. I got home like 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever in the morning. And I looked at him. I just broke down in tears. I broke down in tears, and I said, Dad, what the Christ is wrong with me? He says, there's nothing wrong with you. And we sat on the couch and we talked and we had a heart-to-heart. And then I said, Dad, how the hell did you do it? He said, I just don't drink. I just don't drink. I said, well, why can't I do that? He says, because you're not trying. And man, that was the first time that anybody ever told me, just don't drink. And it was that simple, And so that's what I did. I went back to the noontime meeting, and now I was kind of say I probably ought to get a home group. So I got a home group, and I got a sponsor, and I did all the things I was supposed to do.
Had you before that when you were going to daycare? No. Yeah.
I went to AdCare. I went to the noontime meeting, and I wasn't really willing to learn. I just wasn't willing to learn.
Right.
I had to know what I had to fix, and I wasn't willing to fix me.
Right.
So I had to learn.
So
the
you
hard
were
way.
all alone. I mean, besides heading down to AdCare every day.
Yeah.
At home, white knuckling it.
Yeah.
It was I watched a lot of stuff on addiction and on YouTube, and one of the clips was a girl. I don't know how long she was sober, but she had her answers of how this, not AA, she was going to come up with the new way. I listened to about 4 minutes, and that was it. This thing for me, and what I've watched all through the years. I mean, we gained so much. We aren't home white knuckling it, all alone, and no one to. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but the way this thing works is just what you were saying. I get to talk to somebody now. I get to go to a meeting. That fellowship, I mean, I've been sober a long time, and I'm not saying I can drink again. I would drink again. But I still go. I still go to the 12-step. And it's all the people I know now. And it's my life. If I'm at home, and I'm sitting up in the cave, we call it, I can head down to the meeting over in Leominster, wherever else. But it just the best, and it works. It works for many, many, and we're able to see just what just what works and what doesn't work. You know, like you said, not trying, didn't try. Do you sponsor anybody?
I do. I sponsor
Yeah.
a couple of guys. I remember my sponsor, you know, I got a sponsor early on, and he was a guy that got sober in the 70s, and he was a great man. And I was about 3 months sober, and he says, you know what, you got to get somebody as sick as you and help them. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, I want you to get a sponsee, and I want you to help them. And I found a wacky guy that was just like me, and he managed to stay sober a couple of years, and then he went out, and you know, it really hurt me. It really hurt me. You know, I thought I was doing everything I could. So I called my sponsor, and I said, you know, my guy went out, and he said, let's go talk. So I went and picked him up, and we talked. And he said, I want you to understand that. You know, sometimes we help other people, and in return, it helps us. And he says, I want you to understand that. You know, you did everything you could to help him stay sober, but in return, you stayed sober.
Right.
So remember,
Right.
the program's still
Right.
working for you.
Right.
You know, if he calls you, you help him out. And, you know, I heard from him a couple of times, but, you know, he's struggling. And,
Yeah.
you know, my job is to, you know, to share the same exact things he taught me.
Yeah.
You know, teach humility, you know, teach love, teach kindness. And, you know, if he's got a problem with drinking, we help him with the drinking. You know, that we do what we do.
Right.
Bring him to a meeting,
Right.
we talk about it, and we let it out, and hopefully it helps.
Yeah. And I agree completely. I don't really sponsor any people right now, but I have through the years, that's for sure. And I wasn't a good sponsor. I wasn't tough enough. And so I've had my share of sponsoring people, but as you alluded to, it's you doing it. You reap those benefits. It's unfortunate, of course, for that person to go back out and start doing whatever they're going to do. But as your sponsor said, you're keeping you sober. So you drank for 3. You went back out after the thing down at AdCare, but not drinking during that time.
I quit drinking for 3 months. I went back out, come back, you know, my tail between my legs, and I did the same thing all over again. Managed to do the same exact thing. I got sober for 3 more months and did the same exact thing. And then I says, okay, now that's when I realized I've got more than just a problem. I might be that addict.
Yeah.
I might be that alcoholic that's got to do something about it.
Yeah. Okay, we got 3 minutes. Thank you, Keith. And we'll probably try to eke out another half hour. I'd like to, because still a lot more that we can talk about. So that's a wrap for this one. Show number 36.